Hey everyone, ProNinja here, just trying to do a quick overview of a match I did in Digimon Alysion's closed beta last week. I'll be playing Black Zephagamon and my opponent will be playing a purple pile deck. I will say that Black Zephagamon was the deck I played the most during the beta, as unlike a lot of the old school decks, this one had some modern touches with the tamer and the ability to play out more bodies, which is something I think Black kind of lacked back in the day. But anyways, I think the hand I have right now is actually pretty good. The opening hand originally didn't really have a whole lot of follow-up, and I could just hard play the Digimon and then Digivolve into Craniumon, but then what am I doing there? At least this way, I have a bit of be able to go doing Digivolve, as early Digimon didn't have a whole lot of drawing. So at least now I can just hatch my egg, which is going to be a Kakenmon. I was trying to see if I could combine like Ragnarlord with the Black Zephagamon stuff, to limited success, so this version of the deck did not make it very far. But Digivolve into Ludamon, it was meant to there to get stuff like the Ludamon and other pieces that were Ragnarlord based. But anyways, I'm just going to go up into Tankmon, save some memory here, and we're just going to try and go as far up the line as we can into actually a new card for the set, which is the Wergurumon Sagittarius mode. It has a when Digivolving, check top 4 cards, and then also jamming and the inheritable plus 1000 on your opponent's turn, I believe. It's meant to be support for the Kreskurumon from BT3, but it didn't really do a whole lot. The jamming is nice for the early poke checks, but it's nice to do that and then have the black Shoto card out, which gives a reboot, which then can allow you to like unsuspend it so that you're not having a body out for your opponent to swing into. But it didn't really come out too much in this match, as you'll see. Anyways, my opponent's just playing Purple Pile, which just involves making a lot of purple bodies, filling up your trash, and then going into your Piedmon to go extra wide. And you'll see later on that's what they try to do, but for now it's just kind of a standard match, bit of back and forth swinging, seeing what we can get out here. But as for Black Zephagamon, the main gimmick for the deck really is just whenever Zephagamon will suspend, it just plays out a body, assuming you check your top 2 cards and it's a level 4 lower blocker. And honestly, at this point when I was playing the game, I realized that I couldn't really find blockers very easily. The UI in the back for trying to find cards isn't really optimized for that, but yeah. Anyways, we'll see. We'll move up the Wergurumon Sagittarius mode here. I'm pretty sure I might try to do a swing. I can't remember exactly, but actually no, I won't because they're both 6000. So instead, we'll just go into Craniumon here. What's nice too is that at least against Purple Pile, they all have retaliation. So if you block usually with the bigger body, it would die. But thanks to Craniumon having its effect of not being able to be deleted by your opponent's deletion effects, you basically get protection from that. So you can't be deleted by retaliation. Again, we're just going to check some cards here. Nothing really too scary. But I think we're just going to maybe, Digivolve up a bit more. Get a bigger body blocker out so I can prevent some smaller swings out. And again, Craniumon is just going to protect that as well. What is nice though is that from a visual perspective, you can tell what a blocker is just because they all have this shield around them. So you know those 2 are blockers. Just going with my opponent to do their thing now. I will say that Digimon Alysion as a whole is a pretty fun package. The biggest complaint that I have about the battle UI though is that both Tamers and Digimon occupy the same space. Also, you're going to see there, he's going to try and delete my body, but it's not going to work because Craniumon gives a protection. So again, bit of benefit there. If you've ever seen a Digimon match, you've probably noticed that a lot of the times the Tamers occupy the back half of your mat, and the front half is where the Digimon stay. Here, not so much, and it's a bit of a weird adjustment as they all occupy the same line. So I think right now we're just going to try and go a bit more, get a bit of a stronger body out, and just try to overwhelm them with a bit more force. Again, I can just swing Craniumon now because I don't think anything he has is bigger than my 12k body, and at most he might try and delete it, but again, complete deletion protection for everything. This is just Grand Galemon. It has when Digivolving plus 2k, but we're not going to go into that. We're actually going to go into the Wergurumon Sagittarius mode instead, as that doesn't have a when Digivolving effect that I really care too much about. The DP plus does come up quite a bit, but checking top 4, not so much. At least in early Digimon, one of the biggest and most important things I find is just memory management. Rookie Rush is really prominent around this time, as they would just pass turn 1 every single turn, playing out more bodies, and just slowly chipping away your security. Which really hurts because a lot of the times most decks have to go up to level 5, level 6 or start doing stuff. And if you have 1 memory, that's going to be a very slow process for you. So by the time you get up there, your opponents will probably whittle you down to 1 or none security. Anyways, my opponent here is probably going to start thinking as to what they're going to do, as they can't really affect my board as long as Craniomon's out. And, well, they're kind of just like, okay, what do I do now? I guess at this time I'll kind of talk about just the kind of synergies I found with the Black Zephagamon deck. So as mentioned before, all the Zephagamon line does have blocker except for the Grand Galemon, as that gives you a bit more DP. And what's nice about that is that if you have a deck that's mostly focused around blockers, you can actually just suspend a whole bunch of Black Zephagamon and just get more bodies out and go very, very wide. And then if you have Craniumon out as well, because that's actually pretty easy to do, you will find that you can have an entire board of protected Digimon that's unable to be affected by your opponent's deletion effects. And that is pretty powerful. What's also nice here, at least in this version of the deck, is I have a Rookie Rush plugged into it, so I can have some small bodies that I can do some early swings, stuff like the 2-cost Commandramon and the 3-cost Psychomon that's 5k, so I can have a chance of living. But you'll kind of see here that I'm just going to start poking some more, doing some more damage that way. And we're also just going to be a little mean here, and we're going to Digivolve their Beelzemon back down to a Myotismon. If it was a 4-cost body, it would also pop it, but it doesn't do that. At least this way now I have 2 blockers, and my opponent has a little less to work with in terms of big bodies to swing over. It is funny too, because like knowing where the game's going to go, a deck like this, Purple Pile, doesn't really, last much longer. But I think that Black Zephagamon will have a bunch of support in like BT4 with stuff like Final Zubagon Punch, and even BT5 with the black BT5 Mechanorimon, which just keeps unsuspending whenever it deletes opponents with Digimon in battle. So yeah, there's just a bit more Legro, I think, for this deck going forward, and I think it'll be pretty fun. You'll kind of see here that my opponent's just going to kind of think, like, okay, what do I do now? They're going to go to Piedmon, but Piedmon has an on play as opposed to one Digivolving, so nothing really is going to happen there. And now they're just going to go, okay, cool. They have Retaliation, and again, they don't really realize that the effect is protection from deletion, so as long as it has a blocker, it can't be deleted. If they targeted the Garurumon, then they would have been fine, but they didn't do that. Anyways, so they just gave me 7 memory for free, and there's the Black Shoto, which is a pretty nice card in my opinion, as you can just play it out, and then every turn, as long as you have a Digimon with blocker, you get to get 1 more memory. And memory gainers like that are actually pretty rare, as those didn't come in until a lot later in the game. Anyways, we're going to play out the Black Zephagamon here, and we're going to kind of see what that does. So we're just going to reveal the top 2, and then any level 4 lower black Digimon that I happen to pull out with blocker, I can play those out, which is nothing. As of right now, there's not a whole lot of targets. I think you have like Gotsumon and Gardramon, sorry, it's Gardramon. Aside from that, I think that in the line, there's not a whole lot of black blockers left. But yeah, we're just going to start swinging out here, and we're just going to try and put as much damage as we can. And we're just also going to play the red tie, which just gives all my Digimon plus 1000. And we're just going to finish off by doing Black Shoto. The thing with this deck is I always try to go a bit slower. And there, you suspend it to unsuspend a Digimon with Bird. So this is unsuspend my Zephagamon, and then bam. I've got a reboot Digimon that can't be, swung over. So now I have 3 blockers that'll just protect my board as long as my opponent has a bigger body. And again, with Purple Pile, there really isn't a whole lot of big bodies. It's more just going super wide and just recycling your trash. I will say that currently the pace of the game is a bit slower. If you played like modern Digimon, for lack of a better word, you can find out that the games go by within like 2 or 3 turns, 4 turns, 5 turns maybe. And you're typically done a match within like 5 to 10 minutes depending. But we'll see here that my opponent warped into the Beelzemon, attempting to delete one of my bodies, but they can't because of Craniomon's protection. And with that, I do have 4 bodies out, and they forfeit. And that's been a match of Digimon Alysion. Thank you guys for watching. If there's any questions or concerns about the game, let me know, and I'll try my best to answer them. But I've been ProNinja, thank you for watching, and we'll see you guys in the next one.